Okay, so over the last couple weeks, a whole bunch of systems have come together on the Black PERL. I have the steering gear with a motor to adjust the vane. I have the sail control with the motor with the worm drive, and everything powered up so it's driven by 4 or 12 volts. So the main systems are the rudder, which you can see is actually connected to the deck and this piece of wood that comes off with the deck. So all these systems come off together, leaving the hull behind. So the rudder is connected up through a gear, and then a gear that turns the reverse direction is attached to this wind vane. So with the rudder centered, what the wind vane is telling it right now is to try to keep the wind coming 90 degrees from the right. If the wind shifts, the wind vane will move. That will cause the rudder to move, turning the boat back on course. And as the wind direction gets correct again, the rudder goes neutral and it goes straight. So that will hold the course 90 degrees off the wind, but to hold any other course, I would have to rotate this vane relative to how the rudder is positioned. So I do that by having a box here where the bottom is attached to the gear system and won't move, but the top can be rotated by an electric motor. But before I get to that, I'm going to show the sail control. So looking at the front here, I have a 4-volt battery connected to a voltage regulator that steps it up to 12 volts. And then I've got the wires coming here to an electric motor, and the motor is connected to a worm drive with 30 to 1 leverage that is then connected to this lever arm. So right now the sail is in its out position. It's forward, letting the mainsail go about 60 degrees out on either side. I'd use this for running dead downwind or for running at 60 degrees from downwind, anything except an upwind, of course. And by applying power to this motor, it begins to raise the lever arm, which pulls the sail in. To this position, which is appropriate for sailing to windward. I'm currently using a flexible main sheet, mostly for durability, so that if the boat capsizes or this thing's hit by a wave, it won't be able to put too much shock on the components. It'll have some give. I will probably double this strength and give it a backup one that isn't flexible, just as a fail-safe. But when the voltage is reversed, it then lets the sail back out, and the sail can fall to either side as needed. So I'm planning on having it work with just those 2 sail positions, full in or full out. So that was running on 12 volts. Right now, because it's a temporary system, I'm going to be using the wind vane control on just 4 volts to keep it nice and slow. So we're back at 4 volts now. And I've got a little tiny electric motor here. And that motor is connected down to one of my 2 custom shapeways pieces, the little drive gear, which then goes into the Geneva gear for the hex gear that makes it hold 1 of 6 positions. So I will get my head out of the way and then turn this on, and you can see how it rotates through 60-degree increments for which direction it wants to keep the wind. And the rudder can turn, the wind vane can operate while this is happening. So in the final system, I will actually have sensors in the hex gear and the drive gear, so I know what position it's in and when it has reached a position. Why don't you get a close-up now from this side of the gearworks. And you can see the motor is held in place with a little piece of Instamorph plastic. It's just thermal plastic that you heat up, shape, and then it becomes rigid. So it's actually holding the motor in proper position so the gear turns and not the motor. So that's it for the mechanical systems on the boat. I'll let it rotate till it's pointing around to 90 degrees right again. And then it's time for the mother of all kludges. Now that I have the mechanical systems powered up on the boat, I'm going to be hooking the Arduino to them but I'll still want some way of controlling it before it's totally autonomous. So what I did is I took the remote control that had come with the sailboat originally, took the rudder control, so we have the remote able to turn the rudder, and hooked it up to an Arduino with a couple leads on it, so that when I put the rudder full left, it makes contact, or full right, it makes contact. And that way I'll be able to signal the Arduino which way to rotate the steering gear and how to change the sail. So that'll be what I use for testing on the local lakes before it's ready for full GPS autopilot control.